Greetings, I'm Professor Seth Frey, and welcome to the demo of Module 1. So, I wrote some code for you. We're going to run it. You don't have to understand everything it does. In terms of like what the specific lines of code means, what you're going to appreciate is that we kind of put something in, and we got something meaningful to us out. We got something fun out. All of this is going to be wrapped around Google Translate. Now, I think automatic translation, especially available for free on the internet, is an amazing thing. We have a very big world. There's about 1,500 languages that exist on this planet, and each of those is a reality for a large group of people. And anything that can connect me to those people, in principle or concretely or whatever, is amazing and impressive and exciting. And I gotta say, online translation has gotten better and better and better, really good. So playing around on Google Translate, maybe you've done it before. You've taken some phrase and you've encountered some strange language and tried to translate it back. You've experienced, the website. You've experienced doing all that, and you found if you kind of have a lot to do in there, it can get tedious. So code can automatically go to the internet and interact with any site, including Google Translate. That's what we're going to see today. We're going to use code to connect to the over 100 languages available on Google Translate and automate our access to this extravagant, beautiful, open world where we can suddenly communicate with most of the world's population. So the way this is going, the way a lot of our notebooks are going to run is you're going to find boilerplate code, which is especially kind of opaque, and you're just going to run it. You run by run. You can do that, or I do Shift Enter. It's like a shortcut. And having done that, we're going to encounter our first use of automated access of Google Translate. So there's this sort of funny story that that early inventors of machine translation were trying to go from English to Russian. And to test if they had done a good job, they actually wrote two translators. They did one that went from English to Russian, another one that went from Russian to English. And their test, if they did a good job, was that they would take one phrase, send it to Russian, send it back to English, and hope that they got the same phrase. The way the story goes is they started off with, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And what they got back was, the vodka is strong, but the meat is rotten. Now, funny story, lol, ha ha ha. We can actually sort of do that, and we don't have to do it just in one language. We can see where machine translation has gone since the story was invented in the 50s, and run the exact same translation. We call it a back translation. Translate to a language and then back to English. We can translate to over 100 languages and then back and see what we get, see what kind of difference we get from our original spirit is willing but the flesh is weak. And actually what we find is a lot of these are pretty good. Spirit is willing but the flesh is weak, Afrikaans. Spirit is willing but the flesh is weak, Bengali. The spirit wants but the flesh is weak. The spirit is willing but the flesh is bad, in Bosnian. And then of course Arabic doing strange things. As we go, spiritually willing but physically weak. But a lot of them are working pretty well. Like, this isn't so bad. This is going to run for a while. We're only to I. We're proceeding through over 100 languages alphabetically. How does this code do that? You're going to learn that over the course of this course. You're not going to understand every little thing, but you're going to get the basic structure. This thing 4 is going to make sense. The fact that this indenting is going to make sense. All you have to know now is that you can type something else, some other expression, some other, I give you a couple suggestions at the bottom, but just some other like turn of phrase in English or not, in between these single quotes. Make sure there's no single quotes like a can't. Make sure there's no can't, because that has a single quote in it. Make sure there's no single quotes in the phrase that you put in the single quotes. But besides that, just put anything in there, run this, and you'll get a back translation from that phrase to everything in English just by hitting run. That's a lot less tedious than if we had done this in Google Translate. Let's try that in Google Translate. So let's see. I'm going to go to Google Translate. I'm going to do the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. All right, then I'll do that to this language, and then I'm going to copy that. Or I don't know, maybe I can I'll just copy it. Then I'm going to paste and try to get English back. And okay, that was once. Now I'm going to do it in, not between Swedish, but between Spanish. Or let's see if we can get Bengali back. Bengali was kind of fun. Okay, so this is what I'm getting from English to Bengali. Okay, now I'm going to reverse that. So I have to copy this. I'm going to delete that, X. Then I'm going to paste here from Bengali. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Okay, that's 2 down, 100 to go. This can get tedious, and it's not totally clear how it's working out. In principle, these are exactly the same translations as you get when you go to the website. I'm not sure what was going on there. Bengali. Oh yeah, Bengali was a good translation. So the spirit is willing, but the flesh is bad. Let's do Bosnian. All right, so spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. To Bosnian, but the flesh is bad. So when I flip that over, spirit is willing, but the flesh is bad. Okay, so 3 down, 100 to go. In that time, I've just gone through another 50 languages in Python. And where we end up is Hebrew. The wind is ready, but the meat is weak. Apparently in Hebrew, spirit and or soul and wind are the same word. How interesting. We're already learning things about our world. And again, plug any phrase in there and you're going to learn cool things about different languages that you never imagined. There's more we can do. So another funny kind of translation story is this anthropologist who wanted to just be ready in case he ended up anywhere in the world. He wanted to know one phrase in every language that he could manage. And he wanted this to have the right properties. He wanted to either impress or, in the worst case, intimidate or scare away any person he would meet with one phrase. So what he settled on was, I can eat glass, it does not hurt me. Now, if you want to learn that phrase in every language, all we have to do is run this code, and you're going to get a phonetic translation in every language. All of the same over 100 languages. Now, of course, if you want to learn any other phrase in every language, just type it in there inside the quotes, and the same thing will happen. And it's continuing along. Now, there's a last game. This is sort of a fun game to play. The fun thing to do with Google Translate is to take a single phrase. Let's X that out. Take a single phrase and just sort of pick paste it over and over and over. Maybe it can be a bunch of nonsense syllables. Like, this doesn't tend to work. You kind of have to play around a little bit, but eventually you'll find like some string of syllables and the right language. In this case, what we're going to do is, I think Irish ended up being pretty fun. Now, okay, I will reign thee this day. Now I'm just going to double that, and now the meaning changed a lot. Behold, I tarry thee this day. This is the second day that I have finished this day. Then I'm going to paste it again. This is the second day that I have finished thee this day. This is the second day that I have finished this day. Thou art my Lord here now. Same. Behold, thou art here before this day. When I have made thee this day, thou art here. This time thou hast us here now. This is the second day that I finished this day. Thou art my Lord. Here now I will reign thee this day. And you can sort of keep going on, and it gets more and more absurd. This actually isn't so tedious to do on Google Translate, which is kind of what makes it popular. We can do the same thing in this about the same number of lines of code here. I'm going to run this code, and I'm going to get some base phrase. I'm going to increase the number of times I've used it, and watch the translation sort of unfold and become ridiculous. This, again, playing around with different languages to translate to, and different little phrases, or different sets of syllables, can be fun and goofy and give you unexpected, strange stuff. So those are 3 things we can do with Google Translate in some very compact amounts of code. I'm not asking you to understand all the code. I'm asking you to just sort of play around in these quotes and see what you end up with. For each of those examples, what does this do? This exposes us to the vast majority of the world that speaks a different language than we do, or languages than we do. And hopefully it gives you the tiniest taste of where we're going to end up in this class, running little bits of code that interact with the internet and do exciting or amazing or mind-expanding or world-enlarging or just like kind of fun, silly stuff. To open our minds up, to show what it means to use the internet to do science, and to make us want to learn programming, which is the biggest barrier to learning programming. It's not like intelligence or anything. So I hope you got something out of that. Thank you very much, and have fun.